How to use your instinct to make some photographs. 7 tips about how instinctive approach can help your photography. Coming up. Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. What do I mean by instinct? Let's first start with the explanation what I mean about when we're talking about instinct in photography. It's a approach where you go out and photograph whatever you find interesting.
Why is that an interesting picture?
But why it's an interesting picture?
Yeah.
Because it's something that is out of ordinary.
Yes, that's true.
It's probably for people that can afford
Oh, that could,
food, so-
yes,
but
okay.
I find it interesting.
Yes, thank you.
Just by your instinct, you go somewhere because you think that something's going to happen. And then when you are there, then second time you use your instinct on the spot, so that you are there, and then you start looking around and kind of position yourself with the way that something's going to happen. And sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes it does. And the 7 tips that I'm going to give you will help you to kind of loosen up your mind. When you're using your instinct, you can capture authentic moments. Like this one. I had an instinct that something's going to happen when I saw this car with pumpkins in the back. And it did. And I think I got a pretty good image of what happened. And just a disclaimer, this girl is not stealing the pumpkins, even though she looks like she's caught in something bad right in the action. No, she was carrying them to a nearby store. But I didn't see that. I just saw the back door of the car and the pumpkins. But I knew that there is going to be an image. And using the instinct, I think I got the authentic image of what really happened, or yes, in a way what really happened, because you might interpret this in a way that she's stealing those, but she's not. So it's also about pre-visualizing. You see something and you kind of like see that, okay, what is this? This is interesting. Something might happen here. And then the second one, it increases your responsiveness.
Those are cool. Yours?
Yeah.
That's pretty good shape. Why don't you wear them?
No, not right now.
All right, cool.
The previous example of the girl with the pumpkins was a part of that. But it kind of makes you photograph in a different way. You kind of like loosen up your mind. You start thinking less. You start thinking, how would I say, planning less. You have a master plan. Okay, let's think that, okay, I'm going there, whatever the place is. And you know that there's going to be something that you can photograph. And then after that, you use your instinct to find the things that you photograph. And that's the responsiveness. You kind of are alert all the time, and your response time is really quick. If you see something, because you already had the instinct in your mind, you already kind of have the image in your head, it's just then to grab it. You don't have to think while you shoot. So the thinking process is, of course, beforehand. When you go and take a big glance, you start thinking, your brain starts working, what's there to photograph, and then when the things happen, you don't think, you just act. And that instinctive approach really makes you more responsive. And the next one is reduce hesitation, which is connected to responsiveness. You don't hesitate to take the photograph. If you start second guessing or planning on the spot, or thinking about your composition, thinking about the exposure and all that, and you will lose the image. You need to kind of think quick and go with the instinct that it's going to happen. And of course, this is part that you always alert and look around constantly what's going on. And it's kind of tiring too, because your brain is working all the time, and you really need to, be aware and sleep well and all that, and feel comfortable, not hungry or anything like that. Just be comfortable, but not too comfortable, so that you still have your senses alert. And that's how you reduce the hesitation, because hesitation is one of the biggest mistakes I've made sometimes. I just kind of like start, looking, and then I don't press the shutter, and then I'm late, and then it's kind of like, oh, I missed it. And of course, even though I try to be very instinctive or use the instinctive approach on my photography, I still miss the shots because I hesitate. And that is one thing I need to be a lot better. Enhance your creativity. That's always the thing that, at least for me, is to get started and using your intuition just to start photographing whatever feels good and feels something that you find interesting. Just start photographing that. It gets you going. That's one really important thing, at least for me. And then the next one is that it encourages you to experiment. When you are on the spot of walking the streets, just photograph whatever you find interesting. And that will get you images that you might not get if you are thinking too much about the image or thinking too much how to make the image, what the exposure, how to focus. And so try to keep your camera as simple as possible. Then, the settings, of course, the camera, but the settings. That's why I use P mode and auto ISO. There is a video about how I use the auto ISO if you're interested in that. There's actually 2 videos. You watch the first one and then there's the second one that I made because I had to explain a few things. The gear I'm using on this particular trip is my Ricoh GR3X. The reason that I like the small camera is that I don't scream expensive gear, for starters, and the other thing is that I don't really like to be noticed when I'm photographing. Now I see something interesting. There's someone walking over there. That is an interesting image, and let's see if we can get him right there when there is the graffiti. That could be. Let's make the focusing right there. I hope there could be a train. Now he's getting closer. Not sure. Yeah. I think I got it. Yeah, about the gear. I don't want to be noticed when I'm photographing. I want to be as invisible as possible because I don't want to interfere what's going on in the scene. So my philosophy is that the things that happened in my photograph would have happened even if I wasn't there. So I don't want to interfere. That's why I've chosen to have a small camera. But of course, use a camera whatever fits your style and your philosophy. And all this sets you into a flow state. When you start photographing, just keep on photographing, and what happens, or you fall into a flow state, you start seeing things, you start photographing, and once you get a few good ones, your flow just gets better and you start feeling good. And that's my method. And I usually start slow. I take a kind of a lot of shots at the beginning, and then I start taking less and less photographs, and usually the ones that I take at the end are a lot better than the ones that I take at the first when I go out and start my photo walk. That's because I'm a slow starter. It gets me, warming up, takes a little while, and if I didn't do that photographing everything, I would not get the images at the end that are usually the keepers. Of course, there might be some keepers in the beginning, and it also is one part of the experimentation and finding new things to photograph. And a reminder, of course, there will be an extra tip at the end after the next tip, which is storytelling. It improves storytelling. And this is something that I struggle a lot. I need to get more powerful images. Most of my street photographs are visually pleasing images and they look nice, but that's not enough. I should push myself more towards stories. And on my recent trip to Vienna, where all this B-roll is from, I think I got a couple of images that has a very good story. The first one is this money museum image. I don't know what the place was. I didn't stick around, and I took this shot with the guy sitting in front, and then you said money museum and there is a renovation indoors. I think this raises a lot of questions and a lot of stories, and I'm not saying it's a story about this particular guy. You can build up your own story, and I think that's the best part of photography, that the stories that we build are based on our own experience. And what kind of story do you see in this money museum image? But then I have this image, which was kind of something that I really used my instinct, because I saw when I was walking down the stairs, I saw the hoodie that says "Fight for your right," and I think it's a strong message, especially on a girl's sweater. And I saw these three with her. They were probably waiting, or I thought that they were waiting for the boat to leave. It's some kind of a tourist boat, and I thought they were going there. And I hang around and photograph, what I saw interesting, and something that wasn't interesting, just making photographs. So, I was just acting like a tourist. And then I saw from the corner of my eye that they are approaching the fence that's separating the metro line from the walking area. And once they were there, I grabbed the shot and, then just turned away and took some other shots. And I don't know what they were doing there, because they were leaving back to the streets, climbing the stairs. So I don't know what they were doing there. But I think this is a very, very strong image with a very deep story. And then the extra tip. When you're using the instinctive style, yes, it can build your personal style. I have a video about style over there if you want to watch what I mean by having a photographic style. But it helps you to find your style, because as I said earlier, you then experiment when you start photographing by instinct, with your instinct. Just photograph what you find interesting and then fire away without that much thinking at the spot when you're photographing. And here I want to stress that I always encourage you to think when you photograph, but before the whole photo walk or you entering a place, then you think and compute with your brain quickly what's there to photograph, and then when there is something to photograph, then you have to do it with your instinct. Just fire away and think later. Usually that really works. And when you're doing that, you start finding the best images of that all and collecting them maybe somewhere, and then finding your own style with that. And then you can start to concentrate maybe on that for a little while and see if you can really encourage to find a real style. And having your own style might not be important for you, but for many it is something that you might want to pursue. And that video that I have as an end screen over there is talking about that style. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.